It's now time for the Billy C. Show, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, or drop me an email, bill@BillyCBoxing.com or billy@talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Hey, listen, we are going on early. We're experimenting. We're going to multiple platforms at once here. So it's kind of a early show. It'll be up normal time. But we are experimenting with multiple platforms, so we're going to see how that works. But first and foremost, I wanted to get into some fight results that from last week that I watched that I wanted to make some comments on. And hey, listen, I'm always told that I'm supposed to say this, and I always forget. But make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and to our podcast. Make sure you like us. Make sure you forward it to other people, friends. We're expanding it on Facebook and YouTube. And now we're part of Rumble. So check us out, rumble.com, and search Talkin, Talkin Boxing. I've been putting up some stuff. I came across a whole bunch of previous shows. As you know, we're in our 21st year. And a lot of this stuff, honestly, I didn't know where it was. I mean, we were on different television networks and different streaming locations over the last 21 years. And I just found a bunch of stuff, and I've been trying to post it. I forgot half of these great interviews we did. Roy Jones Jr. I mean, it was just so many. And I'm going to, over the next few months, I'm going to periodically post some stuff up on our Rumble site. And of course, on our podcast. So if you haven't seen this, or if you've been with us for a long time, make sure you check them out, because some of them are pretty good. Like yesterday, I posted, and I think I did some more today. I posted, we did an event in Las Vegas for Canelo Kovalev. And we had some great interviews. I had one of the best interviews I'm not saying it just because I did it, but it was one of the best interviews I've ever seen and I ever did personally with Bernard Hopkins. And it's up on Rumble right now. And you got to check it out. It's really good. It's B-Hop. I've never seen him the way he was in this interview. And we put another one up with Kathy Duva and my man Buddy McGirt, Ryan Garcia, and the Hulk. The Hulk showed up too. But anyway, listen, today I'm going to talk a little about Canelo against Crawford. I know a lot of people are saying that he's fighting Charlo, the other Charlo brother, on May 4th. But I got somebody. You remember that, huh? I got somebody in the chat room. It's funny that people are in the chat room. I want to give a shout out to my man Coach. Love this guy. He's a great guy. And Papa just came in. He says the funniest interview you ever did was the one with Donnell Holmes talking about his dislike for Brian Minto. Yeah. And there was another one we did with Donnell Holmes. We used to do interviews when they were both on. It was called Head to Head, I think we called it. And they were it was the fight before the fight. It was good stuff. Yeah, I remember that one. That's good. Thanks for racking my brain here. But in any event, I'm glad people remember that stuff, because a lot of it I forgot. But anyway, I'm going to get into it a little bit later. But Canelo Crawford could still be happening on May 4th. This is the fight that I want to happen. Canelo's been saying some crazy stuff. At least it's been posted that he's saying some crazy stuff. Like today, I saw a post on social media that Canelo says he's better than Sugar Ray Robinson and better than Carlos Monzon. He's almost sounding like Floyd Mayweather, who says he's the best. It's a joke. But listen, before I get into that, I just want to talk about last week on Thursday, a week ago today. Jojo Diaz fought Ricky Perez on Thursday Night Fights, which incidentally, I love having these fights on Thursday night. I predicted Jojo Diaz. I figured Jojo Diaz would win this fight. I was wrong. Ricky Perez upset him, and deservedly so, because I was shocked at some of the scores. 94, 95-94 for Diaz, 96-94 for Perez, and then 99-90 for Perez. And to tell you the truth, when you're watching the fight, and Jojo Diaz was landing some good, solid punches, okay, and he was counter-punching really well. But I could see, I made a note to myself here, was it a ridiculous score? And realistically, Lou Moret was the one that scored that 99-90. And at first you're saying to yourself, well, that's ridiculous. The other two are so close. And if you were watching the actual punches landed and you were keeping track, you would say, well, Jojo Diaz landed significant punches. But I could see why Moret scored it that way, because Perez was the aggressor for the whole fight. And, one of the best things that we ever witnessed on TV was during an ESPN broadcast when they had a camera. They had cameras on different locations where the judges were sitting, and they showed the same punches from the views of each judge. And you could see where the judges would score differently. And this could have been the case, or Lou Moret just happened to enjoy the aggression. Another broadcast that took place, another DAZN broadcast. I'm surprised we got so many people in the chat room popping in this early. I'm glad. I would love to be doing the show this early, but give a shout out to not only Coach and Papa, but my man Rick is in, John McCleary. He is back listening to the show. He says he's hadn't listened to it for a while. He's from Ireland. Okay, great. The whole point of me doing it early is I've always thought that, we cater to a more, I hate to say this, but a more boxing knowledge, a more knowledgeable boxing fan base. And the UK, I hate to tell you, boys and girls, are them. And I'm glad that we got more people from there. But anyway, another DAZN broadcast I want to mention, it came out of Detroit. Adriel Holmes Jr. stopped Marlon Harrington in the second round to retain his USBA junior middleweight title. That was the main event. He improved to 15-0 with 6 knockouts. He's a 6'2" southpaw. I think he's a junior middleweight to keep an eye on. Harrington drops to 10 wins, 2 losses, with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. The co-main event was Ali Ismailov. He stopped Britton Norwood in the 4th round to retain his USBA light heavyweight title. He improves to 12-0 with 8 knockouts. Norwood drops to 13-5-1. Ismailov is trained by former 2-division world champion John David Jackson. So 2 guys to keep an eye on. And not that they pay me or anything, but DAZN has really become the place to watch boxing, whether it's a big show or a club show like this one from Detroit. And I think that's great. And I, for one, support it. I'm a subscriber, and you should be too. Boxer Promotions has confirmed that they signed a contract extension with Vidal Riley, who's a promising 10-0, 6 knockout cruiserweight. He's out of the UK. His next fight's going to be on for the against the British cruiserweight champ Mikael Laurel at the O2 Arena on March 31st. This event, which is a pretty big card, I'm looking forward to. I'd love to be there at the O2 Arena. It's going to be broadcast on Sky Sports in the UK and here in the States on Peacock. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Boxer Promotions. I expect them to be a major player soon. So anyway, to touch base on Crawford, the potential of Crawford fighting Canelo. Last week, towards the end of the week, Canelo said that a fight with Crawford would gain nothing for him because if he beats Crawford, everyone will say he's too small. But I think the real issue is that he's nervous about losing to Crawford, because I have already predicted that if those two fight, I'm leaning towards Crawford. Here's my thought. There's still no official announcement on who he's fighting. I've looked all over. I've put some feelers out. You know, there's no official announcement. Charlo himself 2 weeks ago said he hasn't seen any contract. He was out on vacation with his family. Could it be Crawford? Could they be negotiating behind the scenes? I haven't heard much from either fighter. And here's why I say this. Here's why I say I'm starting to think that it could be a possibility. If Canelo keeps following the blueprint that Floyd Mayweather did, and make no mistake, Canelo's starting to follow that. You know, he's cherry picking opponents and all of that stuff, and he's dragging his feet, to announce this. Think about it. You know, wouldn't it make it harder for Crawford to put on the extra weight if he doesn't have as much time to do it? I mean, if Crawford knew 3 months in advance that he was going to fight at 168, it would give him all that time to put on that weight. Now, knowing Crawford, I've never met him personally, but seeing how he is and the ultimate professional, I would think that Crawford's putting on the weight right now, because there's really no other fight for Crawford aside from Spence, which he'll beat the hell out of Spence again. I don't care what weight it's at. So really, the guy dragging his foot there is Spence. Plus, with the retina surgery, I mean, he may never fight again. Who knows? So I'm starting to think maybe Canelo is going to fight Terence Crawford, and I for one love this fight. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, I really think, number one, first and foremost, I think that Crawford deserves this fight for the payday alone, and he deserves the pat on the back for moving up that much weight in order to fight Canelo. You know, Canelo is risking to fight Crawford, because if he loses, people are going to say, blah, blah, blah. But, on the Canelo side, Canelo's done everything in the ring. He moved up. Like I said, I posted that Kovalev Canelo interviews that we did in Vegas, which if you haven't seen it, check it out on our Rumble page. I mean, the bottom line is, I don't think people could criticize Canelo if Crawford beat him. I think the accolades go to Crawford, of course, if he beats him. And I think accolades go to Crawford if he hangs in there. Little Charlo. Remember, Charlo moved up to fight Canelo. And, he survived. But Crawford wouldn't. I'm telling you, what I love about this fight, if it happens, is Crawford wouldn't be going into this fight just to survive. Crawford would be going in to beat the shit out of Canelo, make no mistake. And I'd put my money on it. As soon as it gets announced, maybe I will take a trip to Vegas and throw some money on that. But some comments on this potential fight, which is another reason why I'm thinking maybe it is going to happen, because all of a sudden you got people in the boxing community commenting on it. Teofimo Lopez Sr. says that Crawford would get destroyed if he fights his son, which I think is a joke. They're trying to, do damage control. And he said this because he's talking about, Canelo and Crawford, and he's trying to slip his son in the mix. And Teofimo Lopez's father said that he would kill Crawford. He's trying to get a fight against Crawford. He says, he goes, I don't think Crawford wants anything to do with my son. His career is going to be over. That's how he feels, Lopez was saying, Senior. He says, my son would destroy him because he thinks he's King Kong. Him losing to my son would be a disgrace. He wouldn't be able to sleep at night. It would be a nightmare. It would be like coming back from Vietnam, seeing all that shit you saw in the wars. He'd be waking up in the middle of the night. Where are you, Tio? Where are you? To me, Crawford's like a guy like Mike Tyson. Remember when he used to say he was scared, an old lion walking into the ring, blah, blah, blah. Crawford is scared to death. When he's scared why he's scared to death? He doesn't want to have that loss. He knows my son's got a good chance to give him a loss. They don't want to lose. My son's always on the top dog. He's in the game, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I don't care what Lopez Sr. says. Crawford's not scared to lose, and Crawford's a warrior. But the truth of the matter is, Crawford is 37 years old, and why should he fight Teofimo Lopez? Why should he fight, Enos? Why? There's no other fight for him. He needs to, and he's challenging himself. Why aren't the younger boxing fans and people that are supposed to know the sport? Why don't they understand that a guy like Terence Crawford, who's willing to challenge himself, and credit to Canelo, because Canelo did the same thing. Canelo's just plateauing. The thing is that, great fighters do great things. They challenge themselves. Anybody that's watched this show for a long time knows that I'm not a Mayweather fan. And the reason is because of that. Because in my opinion, he didn't really challenge himself in the second part of his career. I give him credit financially, but that's it. And you don't have to tell people how great you are in the sport of boxing. Boxing has a way of doing it on its own if you perform in the ring. So I don't want to hear from guys like Floyd Mayweather and guys like Canelo now saying that they could beat Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson was the best fighter ever to lace on a pair of boxing gloves. There'll never be another one like him because the sport has changed. No one will fight 200 fights again. Harry Greb, Henry Armstrong. These guys, the nature of the sport has changed, so you'll never get to see that again. That's why these guys, maybe skill-wise, and Coach will in the chat room give a shout out to Jesus and Jason's back. I haven't heard him say he wasn't going to fight Crawford, Jay. He said that it was nothing in him. It's a lose-lose situation, but no official word about this May 4th fight has been out yet. But anyway, the sport has changed. And although I've said many, many times that, that today we have the potential, the fighters have the potential of being great because of training techniques, and Coach can back me up on that. The training techniques have improved, nutritional education has improved. We know how to eat better. They know how to put the weight on. I mean, James Jeffries used to, when he went into training, and I've told this story a million times over the last 21 years, used to think it would toughen him up. He would train all day long and only drink one bottle of water. The guy's lucky he didn't drop dead from dehydration. The whole training techniques, Rocky Marciano, chopping wood, running in work boots, all of that stuff. Marvin Hagley used to do it, and it worked for him too. But in any event, Berlanga is a fighter that's I'm going to do a breakdown here in a little bit. He made a really interesting point about the potential Canelo-Crawford matchup. He says it's a mismatch. He says, I think just mentally, Crawford has more will than Alvarez and his previous opponents. Charlo, he listed. And he has much more skill. Canelo's just trying to overpower his opponents with his strength. And obviously, he's just a much bigger fighter. So if he does go that way, it's for the simple fact that Canelo's the bigger guy. I doubt Crawford, because he's one of the greatest in the world. He could probably pull it off if he was big enough. I know that his will is strong. I just think that if he was a 168-pounder or Canelo was a 147-pounder, it'd have been a big difference. It's a money grab fight. There's going to be a lot of money to be made. A two-time undisputed champion versus the undisputed 168 champion. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a lot of money involved in that fight. It's a big money fight for both of them. I agree with that. But I'm telling you, the difference between the Charlo fight against Canelo and a potential Crawford fight against Canelo is the fact that Crawford will go in that ring to win the fight. And I think that, Bivol demonstrated that a good boxer with good movement gives Canelo some trouble. If you're not willing to stand in front of Canelo and let him beat the shit out of you, you could give him some trouble. Floyd showed it too. Be as it may, Canelo, people are going to say, the Canelo fans are going to say, oh, he was young, he didn't know. But true is true. Floyd beat him because of movement and his defensive ability and the fact that he could hit and get out of harm's way. You don't think Crawford can? Crawford and when he's got the switch, remember I talked about last week, Crawford's got the switch that he can flip and become vicious in the ring and God-fearing nice guy outside of the ring. A couple of things that I want to mention right now. Coach is making a decent comment. He says, "Could you imagine Sugar Ray Robinson training under today's science? Scary, scary. There's a lot of fighting. Even Rocky Marciano. Remember Rocky Marciano? He had nothing. Everybody laughed. He's got no footwork. He's got no defense. He's got this. He's got that. And yet he crushed people. A lot of great fighters. Look, I always go back to Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield was the first guy that was able to take and incorporate modern training techniques with the sport of boxing. He put on the weight correctly, and the rest is history. Hey, a big fight. I'm going to talk about some fights that are scheduled right now. A big fight that's scheduled for, Jesus is in there. He's talking about. I didn't see the whole conversation here because they're communicating amongst themselves, but he's saying boxing is no longer a competitive sport. It's a celebrity popularity matchmaking. He's right. He's right. And that's the sad thing. Coach will be the first one to tell me, who's in the chat room right now. He's been calling it the WWE for years now. And he's right. I mean, listen, no disrespect, but, Paul, this, YouTuber, he's making, I saw somewhere, I thought I printed it out, but $40 million. I think he's the second or third top grossing fighter out there, and he's being considered a fighter. He's, so come on. A couple of big fights I want to talk about. I'm going to be ringside for this one up in at the Turning Stone in Verona, New York, on March 2nd. Not this weekend, next weekend. A couple of title fights. ESPN Plus, I believe, is going to broadcast it. Otabek Kolomatov is 11-0 with 10 knockouts. He's taken on Raymond Ford, who's 14-0 with a draw with 7 knockouts. They're fighting for the vacant WBA featherweight title. And the reason why I'm so interested in this fight is now, granted, it's the WBA rankings, but these guys are ranked number 1 and number 2, which is extremely rare today for a number 1 and number 2 guy to be actually fighting, each other. The co-feature is another world title, the IBF featherweight champ, Luis Alberto Lopez, who's 29-2 with 16 knockouts, is putting his title against the line against the IBF number 1 ranked contender in Rhea Abe, who's 25-3 with 1 draw and 10 knockouts. Very rarely do you see such 50-50 fights, and I believe both of these are 50-50. I'm going to be ringside. Get yourself some tickets and come on up to Turning Stone and say hello if you see me. It was announced today that Kubrat Pulev and Muhammad Char are going to be fighting March 30th for the the regular WBA heavyweight title. I thought we were doing away with all that crap, right? Interim and regular. In case you're saying, huh? Remember, Manuel Char was the champ. How he got it, I forget. But what happened was he had a big fight going on between himself, Don King, and the WBA, and they were going back and forth. And at one point, Trevor Bryan ended up fighting for the title, and because Char was stripped of it, Bryan, won it against Bermain Stavern, who's a bum, and then took a title defense and got destroyed by Daniel Dubois. Now, why Daniel Dubois isn't considered the regular old WBA world champion is beyond me. But now Char is back. The WBA decided to give him the title back. So he and Pulev are going to fight. And Pulev said at the press conference, I'll be facing a very serious opponent who, like me, has a lot of experience. I met Pulev face-to-face in Denmark. I was with one of my fighters, a world champion, Chevelle Hallback, fought in Denmark, and Pulev was on that card. And he, as a matter of fact, he fought the kid out of Long Island. The name escapes me right now, but big dude. And he's fighting Char, and Char said, "I'm a fighter. I don't fight for the money. I fight to leave a legacy. If you only fight for the money, you lost. Work hard one day, and everything you dreamed of will come true." Um, I think that's a little bullshit because he hasn't created any kind of a legacy for himself right now, and hopefully he's making the money that he should. But in any event, you remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about the potential, or at least Manny Pacquiao said that there was going to be an exhibition fight, the rematch between him and Floyd Mayweather. Well, apparently he mentioned Floyd Mayweather, and Mayweather, they weren't supposed to say that. And Mayweather said, and I quote, when Manny Pacquiao spoke about that, he shouldn't have. I'm going to say he's right. And I'm not going to say he's right, and I'm not going to say he's wrong. But just by him saying that, it got a check for $4 million. So in other words, for him opening his mouth, there must have been a gag order as part of the deal. And Floyd claims he got a $4 million check. You can't believe nothing Floyd says, but this is what bothers me. Floyd goes on to say, "I'm really still the face of boxing. I'm appreciative for guys like Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, etc. So many guys who paved the way for me. But there's only one Floyd Mayweather. These fighters were not better than me." He says, to me, he keeps trying to tell himself, how, and Coach, I'm sure Coach will back me up on this. He's been a lot of been with a lot of fighters, and the corners, the whispers in the ear, they're the worst. The worst thing you could do is keep trying to tell yourself something. And I think Floyd's having a hard time dealing with retirement. I know he still owes money on taxes, and that's why he keeps doing this, and why he wants to maintain that he's relative in the sport of boxing. He's not. He should just enjoy retirement. Let it, the beauty of fighters when they retire is over time, people get to dissect and they really, appreciate a fighter and their career. Floyd is making it worse. He's, at least for people like me, he's pushing me further and further away. Not that he gives a crap about what I think, but he wasn't better than Sugar Ray. As a matter of fact, I have somebody posted a top, I don't know if it was their own top 50 greatest fighters of all time. And they have Floyd listed at number 50. Now, I don't know if I would have him that low, but pretty damn close, because listen to some of the fighters that I'll just read a bunch of these fighters that are above Mayweather. And you got to try to, if you want to give me a reason why this top 50 is wrong, email me and I'll read it on air. Bill@BillyCBoxing.com or Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Tell me why you agree or disagree. Number one, top greatest 50 of all time, Sugar Ray Robinson. Agreed. Number two, Harry Greb. Number three, Manny Pacquiao. I don't know if Manny should be up that high, but I do believe he's top 10. Henry Armstrong, number four. Ali, number five. Sam Langford. Don't forget about Sam Langford. He's number five. Number six. Joe Louis, number seven. Ezra Charles. Don't forget about him. Another forgotten guy. Great fighter. He's number eight. Number nine, Roberto Duran. Number 10, Willie Pep. Number 11, Benny Leonard. Number 12, Sugar Ray Leonard. Number 13, Jack Johnson. I would have put Jack a little higher. Number 14, Roy Jones Jr. Number 15, Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis changed the complexion of the heavyweight division, but as far as the top 15 of all time, I don't know. George Foreman, number 16. I don't know about that. Julio Cesar Chavez, number 17. I agree with that. He should be higher. 18, Jack Dempsey. Agree with that. I think he should be higher. Hagler, 19. Hearns, 20. Joe Gans should be higher at 21. Evander at 22. Archie Moore at 23. He should be higher. Jimmy Wild at number 24. forgotten fighter, little guy, Mickey Walker, a great fighter. Gene Tunney, great fighter. Stanley Ketchel. This is a guy that is always in the conversation as one of the all-time greats. And he was like 23, 24 years old when he was shot. 27th he is. Jimmy McLaren, number 28. Barney Ross, loved Barney Ross. Barney Ross, I got turned on to Barney Ross by reading a book about him first, and then I just fell in love with Barney Ross. Joe Frazier, number 30. Jake LaMotta, 31. Now, Jake was a fun fighter to watch. I don't believe he belongs that high. Tony Canzanori, number 32. Marcel Cerdan, underrated fighter. Number 33. Jose Napolos, number 34. Emil Griffith, he was a great fighter. I don't know, at number 35. Oscar De La Hoya, number 36. Salvador. And you know what? You can say what you want about Oscar, but he fought everybody. And he wasn't afraid to back away from anybody. And he would have beat Floyd Mayweather if his own corner didn't tell him to stop fighting. They said he had this fight in the bag, and he just, finished it out. He lost those last couple of rounds. Salvador Sanchez, number 37. Rocky Marciano, number 38. Mike Tyson, number 39. Larry Holmes, number 40. Carlos Monzon, number 41. Alexis Arguello, 42. Marco Antonio Pereira, number 43. Pernell Whitaker, number 44. B-Hop, number 45. B-Hop could have fought in any era. I'm telling you, if you didn't see it, watch the interview I did with him in Las Vegas. It's on our Rumble account. Just go to Rumble and search Talkin, Talkin boxing. You won't want to miss that interview. I think it's one of the best. Pernell Whitaker, 44. B-Hop, 45. Eric Morales, 46. Sandy Sadler, another guy, 47. Juan Manuel Marquez, 48. Aaron Pryor, 49. And this particular top 50 has Floyd Mayweather at number 50. Give me your thoughts, and we'll go from there. Some comments. I was talking about Jake Paul. This is a guy that is making all this money, and Jesus in the chat room here was making a comment about boxing is an entertaining. It's not real fighters against fighters anymore. And the other part of it too. Don't forget that, it's all about the O, right? Floyd did that. Promoters, networks, managers, they feel if a fighter loses the fight, he loses the value, which is all bullshit. And that's what I love about the UK boxing scene. The UK boxing scene is not like that. I'm going to try my damnedest before I look at grass from the other side to do a show out of England. Speaking of England, former world champion Carl Froch, another warrior. This is a guy I loved. I was live for him when he won the title in I think it was Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun, one of the two. Great fight. He's been. I'm going to have him on the show. I'm going to have a bunch of good people on the show coming up. I got a suggestion by somebody in the chat room. I forget. Might have been Jason. Was asking me about Iceman Scully, John Iceman Scully, former world title challenger, a friend of mine, and also Connecticut Boxing Hall of Fame. He actually, we started a Billy C. Boxing Hall of Fame, and he was in the inaugural class, and we just weren't able to continue. We didn't have the building anymore. But in any event, he's going to be on the show. Not this week coming up, but the following week. I think it's the first week in March. He'll be on the show. Anyway, Carl Froch was responding to Jake Paul, saying he could beat him. He says, Jake Paul's bottled it. KSI never really had a go, but Jake Paul is really disappointing because Jake Paul actually called me out, meaning Carl Froch is saying this. And then people say, oh, Froch is calling out Jake Paul. He's run out of money. It's like, no. Do you not know Froch? He's a clever guy. He's he's got good investments. He's in a good position financially. You mentioned Carl Froch's name. This is Carl talking about himself in the third person. I said, go on then. You want to talk to me? Let's talk. And he said, fight Anderson Silva to prove myself, then fight me. This is what Paul is saying. He said to Jake Paul, I'm 47 years old. I don't need to fight somebody. He says, listen, I said to Jake Paul, I'll fight Anderson Silva and you on the same night. I'll fight both of you on the same night. And he laughed about it. He also made a comment about Mike Tyson if he fought Tyson Fury. I found this extremely interesting. Thanks, Jason. Jermaine Taylor. I was ringside for that fight. As a matter of fact, that's when Dax Khan and I got into an argument about Lennox Lewis. It was great. And he's been with us ever since. Carl Froch said Mike Tyson knocked out a few big lumps in tall guys. I love the way the Brits talk. He says, I think Tyson Fury would be able to keep him out of the way for an amount of time, but you're talking about a peak Mike Tyson who was a world champion at 20. I think a peak Mike Tyson beats almost anybody on the planet. Just the way he used to be in the ring. He was a dangerous, dangerous man. He didn't stop throwing punches. He used to roll his way into range. If they tried to grab him, he'd push him off. He'd throw big hooks, big uppercuts, and then he'd land the chin and render them unconscious. I think the answer to the question, if you ask me, is Mike Tyson beats Tyson Fury. I couldn't agree with Carl Froch anymore. Yeah, Andre Ward, Jason's saying he beat him with one up. Andre Ward, I don't know what it is, man, and don't hold it against me, Jay, but I never could like Andre Ward. I never could. I don't know why. Talented fighter, wasn't exciting though. All right, let me break down a couple of fights that are happening this weekend, a couple of good ones. Alejandro Santiago Barrios is taking on Junito Nakatanya, and it's for the WBC Bantamweight Championship that Santiago Barrios holds. Now, when you look at Barrios, his record 28 wins, 14 coming by knockout. He's got 3 losses, never been stopped, and 5 draws. Anytime you see somebody with, more than a draw or 2, you can make the argument that he got robbed or he robbed the opponent. His losses, 3. Early in his career, 2 of the 3. He lost the 6th-round decision to Hector Flores in 2013, and he lost a 6th-round decision to Johnny Garcia in 2014. His only other loss was and both of those were unanimous decision losses, and his only other loss was a 10-round majority decision against Gary Russell, who in 2021. He's 28 years old. He's the current WBC World Bantamweight Champion. He's 5'2.5" tall, and he's got a 65.5-inch reach. He's given up 5 inches to Nakatanya, and he's only given up 1.5 inches reach. He's won his last 3 fights, including a 12-round decision over Nonito Donaire for the title in July of last year. He's also got wins, a stoppage win over Antonio Nieves in 22. And also in the same year, David Carmona, 2 in addition to the Donaire fight. All 3 are quality fighters. He steps in the ring with Junto Nakatanya. And before people start correcting me, I know I can't pronounce that. What do you think I call myself, Billy C? I can't even pronounce my own friggin' last name. He's 26-0, 19 of his wins coming by knockout. Now he's moving up in weight. He vacated his WBO super flyweight title. He was ranked at number 1 on the computer. And by the way, Santiago Barrios is ranked number 2 in the world by the computer in the bantamweight division. 26 years old. He's 5'7.5" tall. He's going to have a 5-inch height advantage, but only a 1.5-inch reach advantage. He's already ranked by the WBC as the number 1 ranked contender as a bantamweight. He hasn't fought at bantamweight yet, but that's always funny when they do that. Since October of 2019, he's fought and beat all very good opposition, 7 fights total, beginning with Milan Malindo, Jamel Magramo, Angel Acosta, Ryota Yamaguchi, Francisco Rodriguez Jr. He beat Andrew Maloney and RG Cortez. You could argue would be the worst one of that group at 25 wins, 3 losses, and a couple of draws. How do I see this fight going? Well, I don't want to underestimate Alejandro Santiago Barrios, but I just think that the knockout power of Junto at 73% is going to be take center stage in this fight, regardless of the weight that he's moving up in weight. I think he is going to get his distance correctly. I'm picking a new world title holder in Junto Nakatanya come Saturday night. The main event on that card is Takumuyo Inoue, Nanu Inoue's brother. He's the WBA World Bantamweight Champion. He's ranked number 4 in the world. The computer has him at number 4. He's 28 years old, 5'4.5", 64-inch reach. Of his 19 pro fights, when you look at all of his fights, I only see 5 that you can classify as being easy or against, not that great of opposition. I just, this guy, I'm sure he's sparring with his brother. He doesn't have the knockout power of his brother. Of his 18 wins, he's only got 4 knockouts. But man, you go down his resume, and you're going to see the who's who in that weight division. His only loss at 18-1 was a 12-round decision to Nordine Oyubali back in November 2019 when he fought for the WBC bantamweight title. He had been the interim champ and lost it. Now he's the world title holder, and he's going to be making his first defense. He takes on a pretty tough character, former world junior bantamweight champion Jerwin Anciastis, and I pronounced that wrong, so let's just call him Jerwin. I have such a terrible time with these names. Sorry. He's ranked number 30 by the computer, WBA number 9. No other sanctioning body has him. His last fight was a 5th-round stoppage over Wilner Soto in June of 2023. But his only losses, his record is 34 wins, 23 coming by knockout, and 3 losses and 2 draws. His only losses, you got to go back to 2012. He lost a 12-round majority decision to Mark Anthony Geraldo, and then back-to-back losses against Fernando Martinez in February of 2022. He actually has an 1.5-inch height advantage and a 2.5-inch reach advantage. He's got some good wins against some quality opposition: Jonathan Rodriguez, Miguel Gonzalez, Israel Gonzalez, Jamie Collin, Teru Canozzo, Jose Alfredo Rodriguez, and McJoe Arroyo. He's 32 years old. He's been in a lot of wars. I think it's going to be a tough out for him to beat Inoue. I think it's going to be a challenging fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Ancajas beats him, but I'm going to officially pick Inoue. I think that he's going to win this fight at home. The other fight I want to break down and give predictions for is one that I'm kind of looking forward to. Jason's shocked at me saying Ward challenged himself. Don't you agree? You know what it is? I just, I shouldn't say this, but it's the truth. I met him once, and he just thought who he was, and he just wasn't a likable guy to me. And again, Andre Ward was one of those guys always telling you how great he was, and it turns me off. I'm sorry. It clouds my judgment, and I'm just being honest. This fight in the super middleweight division is one I'm going to keep an eye on, because the super middleweight division I think you're going to see some changes in it. Canelo's not going to be around forever. As a matter of fact, he's really got nothing else to prove. He's probably has more money than Fort Knox right now. I just think that Canelo at this point, he's got a beautiful family, and a cash out fight against Crawford makes sense. And he could fight a couple of more Charlos after that. He's probably going to wait on Crawford till Crawford's 70, maybe 75 years old. I don't know. But Edgar Berlanga is taking on Pedrad McCrory on DAZN this weekend. And I'm interested in this fight. Edgar Berlanga is 21-0 with 16 knockouts. He's got a 76% knockout ratio. He's 26 years old, 6'1", 73-inch reach. The computer has him ranked at number 11. All four sanctioning bodies have him ranked in their top 12. WBC number 11, WBA number 8, IBF number 7, WBO number 5. What I really like about this guy is that he has fought exactly how I recommend fighters be moved. He has fought progressively harder opposition since he turned pro. His last 4 fights specifically has been against better than good opposition. In 2021, he beat Marcelo Cosiares. He also beat Steve Rolls in 22. He fought and beat Roma Alexis Angulo in 22 and Jason Quigley in 2023. He steps in the ring with, like I said, Pedrad McCrory, who's also undefeated, 18-0 with 9 knockouts. Big age difference. He's 9 years older at 35 years old. Pretty much the same height and everything. The computer ranks him at number 26. The WBA has him at number 3. The IBF has him at number 13. He's not ranked at all by the WBC and WBO. He's got 3 less fights. However, he's got 24 more rounds that he's completed. He's only got a 50% knockout percentage. I would say this: 4 of his last 5 fights were against decent opposition. Decent, not good, not great, decent. The rest of his opposition is nothing to brag about. McCrory himself is very confident in his fight. He said at the press conference, he's looking past me because he's talking about Mugaya and Canelo. He's not worried about me, but that's a big mistake. He's in for a nightmare. I'm definitely his hardest fight. I'm a big 168 pounds, and he's never taken anyone's O. He sounds confident, but I think it's all show. He's trying to convince himself. And on Saturday, you're going to see that I'm his biggest test. Maybe McCrory will be his biggest test, but I'm picking Berlanga in this fight. Jason Gonzalez is asking me, do I know Jack Hurts? Yes, I do. I know Jack, but why do you ask? He says, Canelo career has been a farce since the start. Jesus is saying that. I don't know if I can agree with that, Jesus, because in my opinion, Canelo, maybe the first early fights when he's fighting him predominantly in Mexico, I think that he's been doing the right thing. I think, his last fight against Charlo, we can't really hold him in, and he has had some less than stellar opponents over the last few years. I didn't like what he did. For the most part, I like Canelo. I didn't like what he did with Triple G. I thought that those fights should have been held sooner. But again, I strongly believe that Canelo Alvarez is stealing a page from Floyd Mayweather's book, and he's waiting for all the ducks to be aligned in his row. And, when you talk about fights, against certain fighters like Terence Crawford or, if he wants to fight a Berlanga or somebody like that, he's waiting. He's waiting till the odds are in his favor. All the contracts are going to be in his favor. He's going to pick the glove he wants. He's going to pick the location. He's going to pick the day. He's going to pick the ring size and all of that stuff. And when you're bringing in the kind of money he brings in, you get to do all of that stuff. Question by Jesus. He says, why are people in the boxing industry so afraid to say that Canelo's not the best Mexican fighter? I I don't know if they all are, Jesus. I really don't. I think he's popular. The best. Are you talking about the best Mexican fighter of all time? He's one of the best out there today because of the draw. Look, one of you guys said it earlier. The bottom line is today's sport of boxing is all about the money. It always has been. So, when social media starts to be able to sell pay-per-views for Jake Paul to make 40, 50 million dollars, when he becomes a promoter and when he can make all this money, when he can, call out Mike Tyson for a $50 million purse that he can pay, that's the driving force. Let me tell you, the promoters today are lazy. That's why I like Boxer Promotions. Okay, Boxer Promotions is in my opinion up and coming. They're signing some young talent. They're gonna hold the cards pretty soon. Eddie Hearn, I love what Eddie Hearn does. Real promoter. We're gonna have Jimmy Birchfield on soon. One of the last what I call grassroots promoters left out there. What do I mean by grassroots? He goes out there and sells local. They have a local fight. It's like a club show. He builds up his fighters. You got to hit the road. A lot of these promoters today, the fighters are forced to promote themselves. That's why you hear all the shenanigans going on in the sport of boxing. But anyway, listen, do me a favor. Check out some of the stuff we're putting. A lot of stuff up on Rumble. So check out that site. Just go to rumble.com and search Talkin Boxing, TalkinBoxing. Also, keep an eye out on our Facebook page and also our podcast. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube page and Rumble and our podcast, make sure you do it and get some other people to do it. The podcast, I don't know if you're tuning in late, but I've just found that he's saying I want to change thoughts here. He says, I've heard Canelo is not loved like Chavez, Barrera, Morales, Marquez because of his street. And you know what? That doesn't surprise me, Jesus, because there's nothing like Mexican fighters and nothing like Mexican fans. They love the warrior mentality. And, Canelo is starting to show that. Maybe that pressure is making him consider Crawford, and I hope so. But back to my plug here. Make sure you sign up for our podcast. You could do that. It's all, there's links around. You could also go to our website, Billy C Boxing, and I'm sure that you could get to it then. Or it's on iTunes and everything else. So get our podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages. Make sure you like us. Click the like button, subscribe, and pass the word around. What I was starting to say is I've uncovered a couple of hard drives that contain. I've been doing the show for 21 years. We've interviewed anybody and everybody who's somebody in the sport of boxing. I forgot about half of the interviews that we had. We posted the first show we did in 2010. I put it up on our podcast, and in that we had this intro back then, and we had clips of all these people that were interviewed. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. Roy Jones Jr. Oh, that's right. This one and that one. Oh, Vinny Pazienza. Oh, yeah. I remember waking him up, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, And so definitely do that. Go back. You'll enjoy it, especially some of the early stuff when we were doing the morning show. Remember, we used to do the show 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. And when we did the morning show, it was a unique show. It was designed to on your drive to work, basically. And a lot of those were on Go Fight Live, actually. And we had some funny stuff. There was some really good stuff on the morning show. So check all of that out. And sorry for the people that are going to be watching this recorded. We did decide to go a little early today because we're experimenting streaming on multiple platforms at once. But we will be back next week. And I will tell you this, we will be doing the show next week, not on Thursday. It will be done on Wednesday for Thursday. We have another engagement going on Thursday. So just keep your eyes open. Make sure you subscribe. You'll get a notice. And I appreciate you joining us today. Until next time, make sure you tune in to this same bat channel, same bat time. Until then, ciao, baby.